Hi there. Thanks for choosing Aero Weight and Balance as your weight and balance calculator app. This is the second video in a series of 3 videos showing you how to use the app to do weight and balance calculations for your aircraft. If you remember, in the first video we loaded some sample data in the form of the Cessna example aircraft that you see here, and we did a weight and balance problem for a short trip away. We used the fuel utility or fuel estimation utility to plan our trip, and then we put all our weights in and determined that we were within good weight and balance for our trip. In this video, we're going to move on and enter data for your aircraft into the app. I'm going to set data for a PA-28 Cherokee aircraft, all right, and we'll show you how this is all done. So we start again in the menu, and we go to Create Aircraft. There's 2 ways we can do it. We can just go directly to Create Aircraft, or we could create the type first and then come back and create the aircraft. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. We're going to go straight into Create Aircraft, and you see right away we have a list of aircraft that we currently have saved. Right now we have the aircraft called Example, and it's a Cessna 172. That's the aircraft we created in the first video. If we want to use that as a base to create a new aircraft, we can use the copy feature, and then we would just select the aircraft to copy and enter a new type designator, and that would create a new aircraft type for us, or a new aircraft for us rather. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and create one from scratch. We'll enter the registration. It has to be unique. If you enter one that's already been in use, it'll simply be ignored and you'll have to start over. So we'll put in a registration. Enter the basic weight. We're dealing in pounds at the moment. And we can enter the arm or moment value. We'll enter the arm value here, and you'll see the moment value gets updated based on the weight. Always best whenever you have a weight, arm, moment entry dialog anywhere in the app. For the best results, go with weight first and either arm or moment, depending on the aircraft and the situation. So we got our basic data entered. Now we need to deal with the aircraft type. If you remember, we have 2 parts to our data. Aircraft data, which is what's unique to your aircraft, and the aircraft type is what will be common to all aircraft of that type. We see our Cessna 172 example is already saved here. We're going to go ahead and create a new type, and we're going to call it PA. As soon as we do that, assuming we haven't entered a duplicate, as soon as you've entered a unique type, we go right to the aircraft type editor. And you see there are a number of data fields here that we can configure for our aircraft. We'll start with a common name. This is simply the name that the aircraft is commonly called. The PA-28 is normally the Cherokee. That's the same way your Cessna is called a Skyhawk. We'll select that. There's no need for uniqueness here. This is just for to remind you sort of what aircraft you're looking at. Calibration data. If your aircraft is of European origin, some of the information, the POH, might be entered in the metric system, so you can go ahead and select metric or imperial for various aspects of the aircraft data. We'll leave everything in imperial. The fuel estimate utility makes use of distance rate time calculations, and here you can set what type of system you want to enter this stuff in. Typically nautical miles and knots, feet are the most common, however you see there's other options there. We're going to leave this all as it is in North America. Aero Weight and Balance will by default create a number of stations for you to help get you going. We're going to make use of all of these, and we'll probably add one more. Excuse me. Of course, we can delete them if we like, but we don't need to. One thing you notice when I put on the edit switch here, we have a bunch that we can delete. Basic aircraft data entry is not entered. We don't put this in, and we won't enter a station for basic aircraft data. That's what was saved when we created the aircraft itself. This is just types. And you also notice that the fuel station didn't come to delete. Aero weight and balance requires that you maintain at least one fuel station. If you have more than one, then you would have the ability to delete one. Okay, so let's start with the oil station. It's at 32.5 inches from the datum. And the max station weight, or the POH, is 15 pounds. Leave that there. Crew seat. And no maximum station weight for that. Rear seat. 117 inches. No maximum station weight for that. Now there are two baggage stations. One of them looks like it's created by folding down the back seat of the aircraft. It's listed in the POH as baggage 1, so that's what we'll call it. And it also has a maximum station weight associated with it. We can put that in here, and then when we're doing our weight and balance calculation, if we inadvertently enter a station weight that is exceeding the station weight we set, it'll warn us about that with red letter. We'll go ahead and accept that. And now we're going to enter another station. So the little plus sign here is how we add stations. So we'll tap that, and you see we have three choices: a fuselage, a fuel, and a consumable. This is going to be a fuselage station, the baggage 2. So we'll go ahead and enter that. If you have a fuel station to add, avoid putting it in the fuselage, because the fuel station will also add a fuel used station if you're calculating for landing weight. A consumable station is one where the contents of the station can be actually consumed during the flight, and that would be for de-ice fluid or maybe something that you want to drop. However, we'll stick with the fuselage here. We'll enter that in, and we see our new station appear. And we'll go ahead and enter some data for that. That one is called baggage 2. It is 133 inches, 0.3 from datum, and it has a maximum station weight of 100 pounds. And we'll accept that. Lastly, the fuel station. We'll just call it fuel. The arm length is 95 inches from datum. And now, instead of actually setting the max weight, you see here in the fuel station, we can set the fuel tank volume. Currently, it can stay not configured, or we can put it in the maximum volume of 50 gallons. And we'll accept that. And there we have all of our stations loaded up, ready to go. We'll go back to the aircraft type editor, and you see now there's 7 stations. Weight and balance limits are what we're going to look at next. This is how we're going to create the graph that we plot our weight and balance calculations over top of. There's two ways this graph can be presented to you: weight versus arm, or by switching to moment presentation on, we're now looking at weight versus moment. So in this case, for a North American, that would be pounds versus inch pounds. By turning moment presentation off, it's pounds versus inches. A Cessna 172 would probably be done in moment presentation, most likely for the older ones. Our Cherokee, everything's done in weight versus arm, and that's how we'll do our editing. And you'll see we get the graphical editor here. It consists of 4 points, and you see the little blue dots marking each point. 4 is the minimum amount of points that you can set. There is utility for adding and removing points. You will not be able to remove down to less than 4 points. The easiest way to enter these points is to simply tap near one of them. And you'll see right away a menu comes up. It gives you the weight, in this case arm value, for that point. If you were editing a 172 and you were using a moment presentation, you would get weight versus moment over 1,000 here. You have the opportunity to split this point in two. That basically takes this red line here and enters a new point halfway down here so that we can add other data points for your data entry. Or we can hit cancel and that will remove the menu. Okay, we're going to go ahead and enter this, or edit this. Maximum weight is 2150. And the aft CUG limit is 95.8 inches. And you'll see when I hit turn on that, it updates our moment. So when you're entering these, if you want to enter moment or arm, best choice is to first go ahead, enter the weight, and then change the arm or the moment as required. And of course, if need be, you can put everything in metric. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And we'll set the bottom of the chart as well. And we'll accept that. Now we can also touch drag these points to set them to roughly where you want them to be. We'll set the forward max. Now there's two ways we can enter data. You can tap the little X here. That'll clear what's in there. Or we can simply just tap in the field and change it as well. And this one is going to be 88.4 inches. And down here we have 84 inches. And it's starting to look like our Cherokee envelope, but we need a couple more points. We do this by using the split feature. So I tap near this bottom point, and you see there's a red line here. That indicates to me where the split will go. So if we tap split, you see a new point is entered halfway along this one. We tap that one, and we have the opportunity to edit that one. And this one we want to have at 1650. And again, 84 inches. Accept that. We need one more point in here, so we tap on here, we'll hit split, and we'll select that. You'll notice now that we had split instead of cancel, we get this little arrow on the right here. By tapping that arrow, we get a few more menu options available to us. The cancel is still there, but now because we have more than 4 points in our weight and balance envelope, if we tap remove, you see the point that we just entered is gone now. We have utility to undo and redo our actions, so we can undo that remove, and you see now it's back again. So we'll go ahead, take this guy, and we'll set it up as required. And there we have the weight and balance envelope for our Cherokee. The only thing that we're missing is that the Cherokee actually has a utility category. be nice if we could plot that on this chart as well. So we do that by entering what I call sort of extra line or extra data onto your weight and balance. That's entered through the plus sign here. We enter the extra data here. We have some standard choices. We can enter a maximum zero fuel weight or a maximum landing weight, or a utility category, or some other custom category that we might want to enter. We want a utility category, so that's what we're going to put in here. And we look at our diagram, and it tells us the weight for a utility category is 1950. I'll go ahead and put that in. And then the aft balance figure for the utility category, in this case it's in inches. If you're entering for in moment presentation view, it would be actually inch pounds, as in your Cessna. We're going to go ahead and put it in inches, and my POH says 86.5, so we'll put that in. Okay, and we see our utility category is now plotted on top of here as well. We can confirm all of our data points to make sure they're right. These are the main points, not the extra data, and you see they go clockwise around, starting at an arbitrary point, really. Max weight values are here. You'll see they're all there. You can, if required, fine-tune them. If maybe one's not quite where you want it, you can change it to be as it's required. We're not going to do that. And there we have our weight and balance limits. They're all nicely set. Complex presentation allows you to include calculations for zero fuel weight and landing weight. Our Cherokee, we don't need to do those, and so we're not going to include those calculations. We'll leave that off. If your aircraft landing gear swings forward, or aft, I guess, and the datum for your aircraft shifts with the gear up configuration, you can select the amount of datum shift for that gear up configuration. In that case, Aero Weight and Balance will actually plot two sets of data when you plot or do your weight and balance calculations. Our Cherokee doesn't retract the gear, so we'll leave it at 0. We can change the fuel type. You may have noticed when we did the weight and balance calculations for our example trip in the first video, we were able to enter fuel in gallons or pounds. And this is facilitated by the entry of a fuel type. Our Cherokee burns avgas, and it's 6 pounds per gallon. And that's where the conversion is done here. If you burn a Jet A or diesel, you can select those from the list. You can do your own user-defined type. It defaults to 6 pounds per gallon, but we can put in, give it a name, any name we like. Call it MoGas, and we can set the density of that fuel that we're putting in there. So you can put basically any value you decide. If temperature correction is important to you, you can change that in there. You would have to do it day by day, but it will work. We're going to stick with avgas at 6 pounds per gallon. Taxi fuel, 1 gallon. We put our load in, start and takeoff. Might use up some of the fuel, so we'll put 1 gallon in there for that. The last thing we'll look at is performance data. This is information used by the fuel estimate utility to do those estimates. And here we enter a sort of a median average of figures for what your aircraft can do. One of the main reasons why this utility isn't suitable for flight planning, of course, is because there's no really big detail for selecting for different altitudes. I just typically pick a value around 6,000 feet or so, sort of a middle of the road value for these figures, and put that in. It'll do me for doing an estimate whether a trip is doable or not, but clearly it's not suitable for flight planning, and nor should it be used for such. Anyways, we can enter all these values, and what do we got going here? think the climb value on this one was 631 foot per minute. And there we have sort of a median set of values that's good enough for estimating whether a trip is doable. And now we have finished entering all of our data points for our aircraft type, in this case our PA-28. We'll go ahead and dismiss now, and that'll bring us back to where we initially started creating the aircraft. If you were creating your aircraft type from directly from Create Aircraft Type out of the menu, dismiss will take you back to the main interface. You see our Cherokee is selected, and our Save button is here. We're happy with all the information. We'll go ahead and tap Save, and we get an indication that the aircraft has been saved. And now we're back to the main weight and balance calculations. You'll notice here that taxi fuel is enunciated in red. That's because the taxi fuel is greater than the amount of fuel we have available. So we'll go ahead and put some fuel in the tank and set it to maximum. And we'll accept that, and you see that that warning has gone away. Quick look at the graphic, and we see our takeoff weight plotted in the weight and balance calculation, and you see that we are in the utility category. And that's how you would enter your aircraft data into Aero Weight and Balance. This is a simple aircraft with simple entries. In the last video, we're going to enter a complex aircraft into the system. We're going to put in a Diamond DA-42. It features zero fuel weight, or max zero fuel weight, max landing weight. It also uses consumable stations. And we'll introduce a gear swing. Even though that aircraft typically doesn't have it, we'll do so. Anyways, thanks for choosing my app, and have a great day.